Hi, I'm Dan Reddington, and welcome to City, the show that will introduce you to the many interesting and fascinating people who make Long Beach City College one of the finest community colleges in the country. I'm very excited about today's program. Our two special guests include a master chef and a Pulitzer Prize nominee, so please stay tuned. We'll be right back.
There is help for thousands of disabled people who are homeless. SSI. It means cash payments, food stamps, and medical benefits. SSI. It means help for the homeless.
Welcome back to City, and we're going to start talking about everybody's favorite subject, food. Joining me right now is a master chef, the department head of the Culinary Arts Department here at Long Beach City College. Please, let's say hello to Romain Bertin. Hello, Romain.
Hello, sir.
And thanks for dressing up. You look great.
Yeah.
People tuning in might go, what kind of guests do they have on today? And they'd just be able to go, boom, a chef.
Thank you.
You look great.
Thank you.
You were telling me earlier that your name lends itself pretty well to being interpreted to whatever kind of food you happen to be preparing. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, sometimes, we'll be joking with friends of mine who are master chef from France, and I have a name. My name is Romain, and sometimes they say Romani Bertini, since it's Bertin, okay, I can be Italian. And also, sometimes if you put an S in between, Mr. Bertin, Mr. Bernstein, okay, I'm able also to do some dish cooking also. Okay?
You can do everything.
Right.
He handles it all. Now, what exactly is a master chef?
Okay, a master chef depends the country. In France, you have to go to a very extensive training, and you have to go into some examines. Now, in America, you have a very extensive training also. Generally, you have very few master chefs in America, maybe 3 or 4 a year. It is a very, very tremendous, stressful situation, also stressful exam. You will be working for 2 or 3 days, and generally you have cooking all the time.
For 2 or 3 days?
Yes, you do.
Wow.
You do. Yeah. Now, you do have some mystery baskets. You have to know also about nutrition. You have to know also about the policies.
A mystery basket?
Yeah, mystery baskets, yeah. Okay, what's a mystery basket? Example, you have a recipe. You have example, 10 to a recipe. They give you a basket, and you have to pick one of the mystery baskets. That's what we said, mystery basket.
But then you have to guess what it is, or you have to cook it.
You have to cook it. You do have to cook it.
And the recipe isn't on there. It's just,
no.
Make me a souffle a la mode.
Exactly. You have to do it, yeah.
Now, is master chef the highest level in
Yes. It is the highest level in France. It's the high levels in Germany. It's high levels in America also.
Did you always want to be a chef?
Not really, but I did have some family in business, baking, and slowly I started getting involved, and so started traveling all over the world, and from there on, started to be a chef, yes.
What was your first job in cooking?
Okay, my first job was a baker. I was a baker of the family for approximately 3 years. And after I started to be moving on, I went to the military in Africa. In those days, we had some problems in Algeria. And from there, I moved on to
the French military.
Yeah, French military. Yes, definitely French military. From there, I came back and started getting involved mostly in pastries to starting. In different countries, such as Switzerland, Belgium, Morocco, pretty much.
All over the place?
Yes, pretty much, yes.
Now, what was the difference you found? I mean, having been all over the world like that, do you pick up a little bit of each country to put into your recipes? Or?
Exactly. I feel that it's very important for a chef to be able to travel around, be able to work directly with people, and you're able to work with the product from the country, and it's almost indispensable you should be going to different countries, yes.
Have you been practically everywhere around the world?
Pretty much, yes. I went pretty much in many countries in Europe. I went to Middle East. I went also to Hong Kong, to Mexico. And I really enjoy working pretty much all over the world also, yeah.
Do you have a favorite place?
Not really. Yes, I should say yes.
Okay, let us know.
Okay, in 1970, I came to America, and I didn't really adjust to good. I was working at the Plaza in New York. Now it's one of Trump's hotel in New York. And I went to New Orleans. In those days, we didn't have any Cajun cooking, was Creole cooking in those days. Mexico, I stayed for approximately 8 years. And after travel all over the world, I came back to the States in 1981, and I feel that the States is a wonderful country. I was only able, to enjoy the States after 13 or 14 years traveling around the world, yes.
Now, I've been in France a couple times and had some French friends, and there's sort of a snobbery that, you know, the Americans, they cannot cook correctly. Do you find that American food, how do you feel it compares to French food?
Okay, what happened nowadays days, I compare example 1970, when I came to this country, I was in Hartford, Connecticut, and I was able to cooking lobsters, was able to cooking some fish, prime rib, and beef. That's pretty much it.
That was all that people wanted.
It's all what the people want, really. Right. They were not really tremendous connoisseurs. But I came back to the States 15 years later, and there's a tremendous difference. I feel the Americans are traveling a lot and able really to distinguish the difference between a good dish and a mediocre dish. Definitely is a tremendous education. Plus the school here in the States nowadays, they are fabulous. They're very good.
What makes the difference between a good dish and a mediocre dish?
I feel, number one, you have to have a good product. Very important, okay, good ingredients, and also be talented, really. Talented, okay, and also having good training.
Food is a way of life in France. I know that lunch there was 4 hours long. People would have the whole middle of the day, everything closed. They'd have wine and the whole big thing. Do you think that in America, food is as important a thing?
I think so in America is very important. Now in France, we started cutting down on time waste, definitely. People are very busy, and they try, you know, to having something much lighter, but you're still having a break in between on the afternoon. In America, okay, it depends. In France, you have some people who are eating for living, you have people who are living to eat. But you're still having some very nice little restaurants. I feel it's fabulous when you have the husband cooking and the wife in the front, okay, small place, like a little cafe or something like that, with fresh food. The chef very often goes in the market in the morning to choosing his product, okay, fresh, and that's very important, yes.
Now, it must be a rare opportunity for a community college students to have a master chef teaching them. Tell us about what it's like in your classroom and about the program here at Long Beach City College.
Okay, what happened here at Long Beach City College, we have 213A, 213B, and 213C, and a baking class, and also a buffet class. We are pretty much involved with the community. I feel that, you know, students should be involved. Example, yesterday we have a banquet with the French chefs. Okay, we are working with the Ritz-Carlton, Laguna Niguel. We're working with the Four Seasons. We have a tremendous opportunity with Paul Bocuse, with Paul Gros, top masters, French chefs very well known. The students had a tremendous opportunity to working with them. And also what we do, we get involved with the American Culinary Federation, with the Olympics in 1996. For them, it is fantastic to get involved, to see definitely how different chefs are working, especially you work with a French chef, a German chef, an American chef. It is important.
Is the purpose of the program here to just teach people how to cook better in their own homes, or are you actually trying to train the students to go on and become a chef?
Yes, we do both, really, but, you know, my objective really is to having the students going to the industry, working directly with different hotels and restaurants. Yes.
When someone completes the course here at Long Beach City College, are they then prepared to go right out, or do they then have to go to like another 2 years at a 4-year college, or are they finished when they're through with you?
Pretty much. Depending on the student. What happened is we are able to having some work experience, and I should say 50% of the students are working in very, very important hotels. As I explained a couple of minutes ago, Laguna Niguel, we have the Ritz-Carlton, we have the one in Pasadena, we have the Four Seasons, we have the Nico Hotel, always really between 3 to 5 star operation.
Now, I understand you brought us some pictures you want to show us about some of the special events that the students get involved in. Sugar pulling, tell me about that.
Okay, sugar pulling, it is something artistic. It is something unusual. Not everybody is able to work with sugar. If you compare sugar, it's pretty much such as glass blowing or glass pulling, okay? Yes, it's something very unusual. You have to be very talented, definitely. Nowadays, you do have some schools here in America.
Here we see the people doing it right there. Why would you pull sugar? What is the purpose of that?
Okay, what happened is that purpose is something very unusual. Not every hotel or every restaurant are able, you know, to supply a chef and putting sugar. Here we have example of rose. The rose.
That's made out of sugar?
It's made out of sugar, yeah. What you do, you're boiling sugar and water and vinegar.
Wow.
Okay, that's beautiful roses.
They're just all sugar.
It's all sugar.
With food coloring or?
Yes, food coloring. Very, very fragile.
This would really dress up any kind of occasion, Romain. It'd be great.
Yes.
Now, how long do they last? Do people eat these?
You're able to eat them, yes, definitely. But also what happens is it's mostly for decoration. You have to having also a special area you're able to keeping, because if you have a lot of humidity,
right,
the sugar really...
Well, not to mention ants and stuff.
That's right.
That must be terrible. Do you like my coffee table centerpiece? It's crawling with bugs. There's an Olympics for culinary arts? Tell me about that.
Yes, what happened is that my goal and my hope is to be able to go to the Olympics with some of the students to participate in 1996. We're starting now already to go, on a Palm Springs example, to go to Los Angeles. And we have here, example, a beautiful selection we had, with the team, American team going to Frankfurt in 1996.
And they're going to compete against other countries?
Yes, definitely. We have all the countries all over the world are competing there. Okay, we try to be ready in those days. Okay, it's very stressful because you have to do a lot of work.
I'm getting hungry. How do you stay slim? You're in pretty good shape for a guy who's cooking all things like this all the time.
Yeah, but it's very hard. Okay, and also you have to exercise quite a bit.
Do you?
Yeah.
You exercise. I mean, you look good. You look the part of a chef. You look like you eat just enough to know that it all tastes good, but you're still staying in good shape. Is that a big temptation, actually?
It is. It is, especially when you start to be a little bit nervous. Okay, you start to picking on the right and the left, and you start to eating. That's the most difficult thing. Yes, and you have testing also.
A friend of mine runs his own catering company. I used to work for him, and he used to just be womp womp, try this, try that, because you have to make sure it's all coming out right.
Definitely.
And he ballooned up. Pretty good. Pretty good.
Plus, what is nice? You must have a nice glass of wine also, no?
All right. Well, speaking of a nice glass of wine, and speaking with a master chef, what is your favorite meal?
Favorite meal for me is really seafood. I love seafood, fresh seafood, and some very nice white wines. So I feel that in America, especially now in California, you're really having some fantastic white wines now.
We have great wines here, don't we?
We do. Definitely. Red wines, I think you're still, I should say not a long way, but, you're coming from a long way, let's put it that way. But,
a little bit of that snobbery creeping in there. Well, the best wines are from France.
Not anymore, okay? Not anymore.
Okay.
Not anymore.
The students here in your class, do you give them actual recipes, and you get to say, okay, you're having a dinner party, this would be a great thing to serve? And
yes, we give them a recipe, and also on the finals, we do have master chef coming, and really the master chef are the one who will be giving them the grades. To give you an idea, we're having the basket, the mystery basket, they're picking up one of the dishes that prepared.
You do all that same thing?
We do the
as
same
a master
thing,
chef would go through right here?
Yes, we do.
Can anyone take the class? Do you have to want to be a master chef, or can you just be someone who's interested in cooking a little better?
Mostly is to be interested in cooking and be motivated, willing to doing something and going ahead.
Because it's hard work.
Yes, it is hard work, definitely. You have to work on the weekends, as you know. You have to work on the evenings, and not everybody appreciates those weekends.
Well, I appreciate those weekends because I love French cooking, and I'm glad that you're here. And what an opportunity for students here at the college. If you ever thought you might want to be a chef, go see Romain Bertin or Romano Bertini or whatever he's called that day, and you'll have a wonderful time, and make sure you keep exercising so you don't balloon up like my pal did. Thanks for joining us here, Romain, and when we come back, we're going to meet a Pulitzer Prize nominee right here from Long Beach City College, so please stay tuned.
Is David. Oh, hi. This is what David's done. David went to college. Annapolis. David taught himself to play piano, the sax, even the bagpipes. Well, maybe not the bagpipes. David was NBA Rookie of the Year. He's also been to the Olympics twice. David even became a naval officer. David's sure done a lot. But you know one thing David's never done? Drugs. David doesn't do drugs. Maybe that's why he's done so much. Dan Reddington's wardrobe, provided by Umberto, International Clothiers.
located at 2141 Bellflower Boulevard in Long Beach.
Welcome back to City. Joining me now is Associate Professor in the English Department here at Long Beach City College, a poet, and a Pulitzer Prize nominee, Frank Gaspar. Hi, Frank.
Hi, how are you?
Pulitzer Prize nominee. What were you nominated for?
Well, it was, the nomination was for my first collection of poems, The Holyoke. Much is made of this. It's actually, that was quite a number of years ago, and there are many nominees. I'm happy to be among them.
Well, there's many nominees, but it still is a select group.
It is, and I'm very happy about it. So it was a nice honor.
Well, what was it like? Tell me what it's like. You get a letter? Do they call you up and say, Frank, love the poems, herein? How does that?
Something like that. Actually, my publisher called, and the publisher has the option of nominating you. It's an expensive process, so. But they did not, in this case, do that. It was another publisher across town who was interested in that manuscript and some other things. I don't think anyone, even in the nomination process, thought I would win. Indeed, Richard Wilbur won that year. But it was just, I think, a way of showing faith and interest in the manuscript and so forth. So it was a nice gesture. I appreciated it.
So we get an idea. I know nothing about the Pulitzer Prize. How many nominees were there that one year?
Well, I think I don't have a notion. I think there might have been 70 or so. I think there could have been that many. But that's from also a very large field. I should say that the book actually did win a prize, and that was the Morse Poetry Prize that year. It was the 1988 Morse Poetry Prize winner. But the Pulitzer nomination seems to overshadow that. Everyone sort of forgets about the other one.
Do you feel like you have to say, well, yeah, but I got this big award. I got this Morse Poetry.
No, I don't talk about it much because really, it's sort of like, I suppose if you were thinking about golf and didn't watch golf much and someone said, well, he almost won a certain prize.
Right.
And that's what you focus on. But really in the community of writers, those things are passed by pretty quickly, and what's really important is sort of what you're doing now, the new work, and keeping working. Those are the things that are important.
That's hard to get by, though, isn't it? I mean, our society's kind of geared towards accomplishment rather than the process of doing.
That's absolutely right.
And well, with that in mind, I mean, you have students in your class. How do you get them beyond the thinking of material gain as your measure of success? I mean, poetry, there's no measure, there's no guarantee.
No, well, poetry is pretty easy to get them thinking beyond material gain because quite simply there is none.
Lesson one.
It is a pure art form, and nobody gets into poetry for any reason other than the pure motives of being an artist or love of language. And so that's pretty easy, but there are measures of success that are particular to that field. For instance, how many times you are asked to read publicly in different places, and the places you're asked to read in, and how well your collection is doing, how well you're doing in serial publication, because we're always sending things out to magazines and journals and so forth. So there is a measure of success.
There's a way to feel that you're doing well, even if the money is...
That's right. The money is usually nominal. Now, in the novel class, on the other hand, people really do come in thinking that they're going to be the next Stephen King or
do you temper that, or do you encourage that?
Well, it depends on the kinds of material that they're involved with. I mean, some people come in and they're working on family narratives, things that are very important to them, personal histories and so forth. And with a project like that, I really try to make it clear that that's probably not going to be a blockbuster. But we can work on it, and they can learn their chops in the meantime, become better writers, also expose themselves to more literature, just read more and see what's out there and what's being done. But some people come in with some really just sort of bang-up projects. I should mention a couple of writers that came through our workshop. Jill Landis, who is a Long Beach writer, came through a number of years ago, and she had a historical romance that she was working on. She history major, was a history major, I believe a history teacher, and she just worked. She loves the Old West, and she worked on it and so forth, and sold it. Did very well. I think she's now on her 5th or 7th book in a series, and she's doing very, very well. She is becoming, she's bumping the bestseller list.
She's written out when she came here to Long Beach City College. Had she been a professional writer before?
Oh, not at all. No, no. This was where she really began learning her chops. She was a good writer, an intelligent woman, but really just kind of got down to work here and worked in our workshops and in criticizing groups and so forth, and really came along.
So it's possible for someone to, right here from Long Beach City College, go on to a fair measure of success.
Absolutely. Another writer we have, Arthur Melville, very interesting man. He's a psychologist here in town, and he was a Catholic priest in Guatemala during the 60s, a revolutionary priest.
He has a lot to write about, I guess, huh?
Well, his book is now in the Long Beach City College bookstore. It's called With Eyes to See, and that book went through many, many revisions in our novel workshop, our 27E workshop. So, and there are others who are doing well in magazine publication and so forth. So we're very happy with what we're doing.
Well, it sounds like you have sort of a broad-based department. You're not just a poet then. Are you a novelist also?
Well, I'm a less successful novelist than the two people I just named. I mean, my novel is still a revision away from being circulated, and I'm hopeful that I may finish that either this summer or on my sabbatical, early part of my sabbatical next year. I have other things that I want to do on the sabbatical as well.
Besides writing?
Yeah. Well, no, actually writing, but I have different projects. I have a lot of different kinds of things that I'd like to do.
Such as what? What else would you do?
Well, I have a third book of poems that I'm beginning to assemble, and I'd like to finish that. And then there's some work I'd like to do on some of the courses here at City to change them a little bit, bring them more up to date. When you're teaching writing, you're also teaching contemporary reading. I mean, you have to know what's out there and what's being done. And so it's always good for me every few years to bring in new writers that I can talk about and teach, and we can read together so that the students understand what's being done and so forth.
Do you find that the students want to read? I mean, I know when I was in college, it was, I want to do. I don't want to read other people's things. I want to do. Is that a conflict for you? Do you always have to?
Well, a little bit of one. I mean, we have a 100-page per semester. That's typewritten double-spaced pages. That's the ante. If you want to be in the group, that's what you got to do. 100 a semester.
Wow.
And then each week we read a portion of our friends' or our colleagues' work, and we write a 250-word critique on it. So there's a lot of work being done.
You have to bring stuff in every week.
Every week.
And then critique.
Yeah, so they
serious.
spend serious stuff, and they spend a lot of time at the word processor, but we stress the importance of reading, and we always read some novels together every semester, and then everybody, of course, is always reading and bringing in their favorite novels. We read Barbara Kingsolver's novel.
Well, which one? I read 3 of hers.
We read Animal Dreams.
Yeah, that was my favorite one.
And then we read a mystery called, I believe it's Morning of the Flamingo, by a very fine mystery writer whose name I may get wrong. I think it's James Lee Burke, New Orleans-based writer. So those are the 2 we've done.
So people aren't dabbling in writing if they're an English major here at Long Beach City College. I mean, you're getting them to the point where they can be like the 2 writers you mentioned.
Oh, absolutely. In these classes, in these classes, in the creative writing series, there's some very, very serious people. The poets are fine. They win prizes regularly and publish regularly. So it's a very, very fine community of writers here.
And you graduate here with, it's an associate's degree in
English with an emphasis in creative writing. Many of our students, I should say, are returning students, people who are coming back to us with life experience. We have a lot of women coming back in midlife. We have a lot of men coming back in mid-career. We have many retired people. We have a lot of young people who have shopped around for writing classes in other colleges in the area and are sampling us. And I'm happy to say they're very happy when they get here, and they like our program, and most of them stay and work through our classes.
Now, these are potentially the best writers, aren't they? People who've experienced life and now have things to write about.
That's right. I think that's fair to say. Although we get some young people with marvelous imaginations that come in with science fiction ideas and the sword and sorcery sort of thing, you know, that take off on the Tolkien. I guess Tolkien spawned the whole genre of writing now. And so those are fun to work with too. So it's quite an interesting group that we have. It spans ages from about 20 to about, heck, 70. You know, we really have quite a range of people. It's a marvelous mix to get these people having coffee together and you know, arguing and talking and discussing. It's great.
Do you write every day?
I try to write every day, and I'm very unhappy when I don't. I mean, I don't write on the weekends usually, and I have a fairly heavy teaching load, but I try to sit down at the desk every evening about 8 or 8:30, and I'll knock off about 11.
Pages?
11 o'clock. Yeah. I'm working on poems now, so that's slow. You work line by line and so forth. On busy weeks, I'll take a sitcom break.
Watching a sitcom?
Sure, I'll take a half-hour break and sit down and watch Seinfeld or something like that. But I usually try to use that evening time to work on my own writing. And then I use the mornings and the afternoons here at the college to do my paperwork here and to do my teaching and so forth.
How do you deal with the blank page?
Well, that's a question that's often asked of me. There was a time when the blank page was a horrendous obstacle, but I'm at a point now, I think, in midlife where maybe because I hear the clock running, or maybe because I just put so many hours in at the desk, that now when I sit down, I just write.
It's going to happen.
It just happens. I don't throw a lot of that away. I mean, most of that is not usable, but the blockage and the suffering over the next word is something that I think I've worked through. I'll knock wood on it.
I might have jinxed you.
I think.
But is it important to write even if you're going to throw it away? I mean, to get it down and at least you've done it.
I think it is. I think it keeps you fluent. It's, I suppose, sort of like stretching and running. You mean every day's not a race, but you know you have to keep in shape for it, and I think it's an important discipline.
It's a serious subject here at Long Beach City College. You really can be a major and get along. But what if I just wanted to improve my everyday life with a writing course? Are there courses available to people too?
I think there would be the self-same courses. Now we have a composition program, of course, which is what every school does. I mean, you have to take your freshman comp, and you have to take some literature classes to move on.
But it is possible to start out, just get a little feel for it, and maybe discover, hey, this is something that I do want to do.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like the department here at Long Beach City College is a great place to find out if you can be, who knows, maybe a future Pulitzer Prize nominee, just like Frank Gaspar here. Thank you for joining us. I want to thank Romain from the Culinary Arts Department and Frank Gaspar from the English Department, and ask you to please join me next time on City. See you then. Dan Reddington, and welcome to City, the show that will introduce you to the many interesting and fascinating people who make Long Beach City College one of the finest community colleges in the country. When we return, we're going to meet two very special guests, so please stay with us. We'll be right back.
This is David. Oh, hi. This is what David's done. David went to college. Annapolis. David taught himself to play piano, the sax, even the bagpipes. Well, maybe not the bagpipes. David was NBA Rookie of the Year. He's also been to the Olympics twice. David even became a naval officer. David's sure done a lot. But you know one thing David's never done?
Drugs.
David doesn't do drugs. Maybe that's why he's done so much.
Welcome back to City. Joining me is my first guest. He's the director of the EOPS program here at Long Beach City College, Jim Poston. Jim, thanks for coming down today.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here.
Tell us, before we get started, what exactly is EOPS?
Well, the acronym stands for Extended Opportunity Programs and Services, and I think in a nutshell what that program is, it's about helping people in the community to reach their dreams and their goals relative to education and the workforce.
And how does EOPS accomplish that?
Well, what we do is we seek out people, and our doors are always open, and we have open arms to people who really want to improve themselves in terms of education and job opportunities. And we bring them in and provide tutoring and counseling and a lot of other good services for them.
You say you bring them in. How do you get a hold of them? How do they get a hold of you?
Well, we publicize our program throughout the city, throughout our district. And there's actually a lady that works in our office who has a crew, and she goes out to high schools and mingles with the students during lunchtime, lunch breaks, and visits classes and talks to them and let them know about our program.
And more specifically, how does your program help them? What kind of services do you offer to a person?
Well, perhaps the most important service that we have is counseling, educational counseling, personal counseling. And we also offer them priority registration, especially now with the difficulty of getting classes. And these are students that need a lot of assistance in getting enrolled in college because they've never been there before. And tutorial programs we have for them. They can receive tutoring in our office or in the tutorial center. And we also have peer advisement if they want to come in and talk to some of our students who work for us, who are students here at City College, kind of relate to them and help them get through the process.
And the eventual goal is to get a person who might never go to college and then get them where?
Is to get them to graduate from City with an AA degree or get a certificate or to transfer to a four-year college anywhere in the United States.
What is the type of person you're looking for to help?
Oh, that's kind of a hard question because we don't like to typecast them, but
okay.
I think I understand what you're asking, and we're looking for people who have the potential, if you will, but who need resources to help them to get to where we're trying to get them to. And maybe it's been a student who didn't make it in high school, may have dropped out of high school, but we would find that student and bring them in. Or maybe they didn't get grade point averages above 2.4 or 2.5, or maybe they come from a family that's non-native English speaking, and they just need that additional boost and assistance. Those are the type of people that we look for.
Are there any people you don't think you can help?
Well, in our office, we have a slogan that sort of goes like, if you think you can, we know you can. And we don't feel that there's anyone we can't help. That's the approach that we take. We always believe that anyone that walks in our office as a student, they're number one, and we give them our full attention.
Even, say, someone who has been in trouble with the law, someone who's been in jail.
Well, you bring that up, and it brings to mind real quick a young man that came to us some years back. He was involved with a program called Cities and Schools, and some gang involvement and some problem that he had. He started off with us and he tried. He didn't quite complete the first semester. Then he tried again. He didn't quite complete. And then the third time he didn't quite complete the semester. But we never gave up on him. And then the fourth semester he came in with a big smile and just saying, I made it. I did one semester complete without dropping a class. Well, to me, that was very successful for that individual to help him to see that he could do it.
And how is he doing now?
Well, I understand that he's doing well. We have so many students in our program, sometimes we can't always track them all the way through. But
how many students are in the program?
At the present time, we have about 1,600 students.
Wow.
We could do more if we had the resources.
What kind of resources would you need? More money? Or
funding and being able to have a bigger office space, and also to be able to hire additional staff, counselors, and peer advisors and recruiters.
How long have you been involved with the program, Jim?
I started with this program back in 1979 when I first came to the college at Long Beach City, more directly as a director in 1986.
So you've seen a lot of people come through, and you say there's 1,600 now?
Yes.
And is there a waiting list for this program? Is it popular enough that there's more people want to do it?
Well, yes, you might say that. It's not an official waiting
Right.
list, but students come in and they apply for financial aid at City College, and then we immediately qualify them with an income grid. And there are probably 5,000 students here that would be eligible for the program, but we just can't accommodate all of them, so we go through a little selection process and we bring them on the program.
It was interesting to see your face light up when you were talking about that one student and completing the semester after trying a couple of times and not making it.
Yeah.
Could you give us some examples of some of the other people, some of the success stories?
Yeah, I can. You know, one comes to mind. In fact, this just happened yesterday. I'm in the bank, and this lady, I spoke to her, said, "How are you?" Because she looked like someone I thought I knew. And she said, "Hi, Mr. Poston, how you doing?" She says, "I know you don't remember me, but I was at City back in 1981, and you were my counselor. And you helped me, and the program helped me. I finished City College, went to Cal State. I'm a registered nurse now, and I'm about to complete a master's degree at Cal State Long Beach in nursing."
Wow.
And, you know, I got so excited about that. I mean, I really didn't remember the lady, but I had to get excited about it.
Sure.
And then there's another young lady who's almost a 4.0 student. She came to us, maybe a couple of years ago, and she'd been involved in a little bit of risque activity, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And she's been on our program, and with a little bit of kindness and love and help, and all of the services that we provided for, she's almost a 4.0 student. So,
wow.
You know, and she comes from a non-English speaking family, and that we get excited about that.
How does your program help these people? What is it about you or the people you work with that gets people to be able to come in and turn their lives around?
Well, first of all, I insist in our office that everybody recognizes that the student is number one, okay? If it wasn't for the student, we wouldn't be there. So we start with that, and anyone that walks in our door, we have a "may I help you" type attitude, anybody.
Mm-hmm.
And that sort of permeates throughout the staff. I give orientation sessions to new staff members, and we just insist on that, from secretarial to clerks to counselors to everyone. We want to help people because we're in a people business.
You, as I mentioned a couple minutes ago, just to watch your face light up when you talked about these students, what do you, Jim Poston, get out of helping these students?
I personally get fulfillment, self-satisfaction. I think it sort of goes back to, if you don't mind me sharing this with
No,
you,
please.
My family.
Oh, please do.
My father, who's 82 years old, has always been in the help mode. He's always wanted to help people. Even right now, he raises a garden, and he says, "I got to raise this for the senior citizens," and he's 82
He's
himself.
82.
Right. And then my mother, she raised her sisters and brothers. Her mother died young, and we're always helping people. And then I had the privilege to adopt 5 youngsters when they were kids, 3rd, 4th grade, and I raised them up, and 3 of them have graduated from college, and it's just been helping them. When we first got them, they couldn't even spell their names,
Mm-hmm.
but we gave them love and kindness and help, and we got them through, and we're very excited about that, and so it sort of carries over. I love my job being in
No, I
EOPS.
couldn't tell that from the way you talk about it, Jim.
Well, I really do. You know, like a lot of people, they think I'm kidding because, you know, not too many people like going to work. Only 30% of the workforce in the United States, so I hear, really say they enjoy their job. But I like my job. I love coming to work. I look forward to it.
Oh, that's obvious. How did you get to take that caring, helping attitude? What led you to Long Beach City College? How did you find your way here?
Well, I came to Long Beach City College because a person who used to be the director of financial aid knew me and knew of my skills. I was working for the University of California at Irvine in the EOP program there, and he knew of me and knew of my skills, and at that time, I did not have a degree. I had no AA degree, no bachelor's, nothing. And he said, "Jim, you need to come to City. Let me see if I can help get you to City College. We can help you get through school, and you can get some credentials and be able to utilize your skills better." And I will never forget that man for that. And I have to tell you what his name is.
Okay.
Jack Emmel was the director of financial aid at that time. He and a financial aid counselor who's here now, her name is Betty Steffen, and she works here, and those two encouraged me every time I wanted to quit and give up. Say, I can't do this, I'm too old, I can't make it. They'd say, get up and go get it, Jim, and they would encourage me. And I'm very, very happy that I met those two people.
So you actually, they did for you what you're now doing for hundreds and hundreds of other students.
Exactly.
The program as it is at the college now, are you satisfied with it?
With the EOPS
Yes.
program? Well, you know, there's always room for improvement and always room to grow.
What would you like to see improved?
What I would really like to see is to be able to increase our counseling staff. And I would really like to be able to beef up our staff so we can have more of a hands-on approach with our students. So that I'd like to know them all by first name if I could.
Sure.
And I'd like to be able to say, come into my office anytime you want. I say that anyway, but you know I can't.
Well, the more successful you are, you have 1,600 students now. To get to know them all by name would be pretty good.
Yeah, it would be.
Yeah.
I would love that challenge. But I would say that those would be the most immediate things, and to make sure that we're able to get them registered in their classes, and probably continued support of the staff, of faculty here. Our faculty gives us a great deal of support for our students, and we just want to see that continue.
How can someone get a hold of you if they're interested in signing up with EOPS? How do they get a hold of Jim Post?
Well, they, of course, can call the office, which is 420-4273. And we have a campus at the Pacific Coast campus as well, 599-7951, if they wish to reach us at that campus. But we're one office, one college, and it doesn't matter whether they call us, we'll be able to help them.
And if they wanted to walk in, you're in the trailer here on the liberal art campus, is that correct?
That's correct.
And we're on the Pacific Coast campus.
We're in the counseling department at the Pacific Coast campus. It's a new wing there. You know, you're asking me about that, but I just thought about something else. I want to tell you about our program that I'm really proud of.
Okay, we have just about a minute.
Okay. Well, you know, Long Beach City College has a great number of ethnic groups here. But we try to make our staff mirror the college. So we have various ethnic groups working in EOPS as a family.
And it sounds like it is truly a family. I mean, if you have people just all willing to help everybody, and it must be nice to see your children or your students just go on to the kind of success that woman you met in the bank had.
Yes.
Well, continued good success with that, Jim, and thanks for joining us today.
Well, thank you very much, and glad you had me on the program.
Well, thank you for joining us. And when we come back, we're going to meet Jeri Carter, the activities director from the Pacific Coast campus. So please stay tuned. We'll be right back.
She calls out to the man on the street. Sir, can you help me?
There is help for thousands of people with disabilities who are homeless. If you work with an organization that helps the homeless, you should know about SSI. SSI means monthly cash payments, food stamps, and medical benefits. SSI means help for the homeless. To find out more about SSI, contact Social Security.
Dan Reddington's Wardrobe, provided by Umberto, International Clothiers, located at 2141 Bellflower Boulevard in Long Beach.
Welcome back to City, where my guest is the activities director of the Pacific Coast campus of Long Beach City College, Jeri Carter. Jeri, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you. It's nice to be here.
What is an activities director? What do you do?
Well, I like to often say I'm in charge of the fun and games that go along with collegiate life, out of the classroom experiences like homecoming and mini Grand Prix, student government, clubs, fundraisers, lots of different things.
And how did you get into doing that?
Well, being a product of this college, I graduated from this college many years ago and was very active, and about 10 years ago was asked to come on and take on the cheerleading program. The cheerleading program kind of grew for me, and they needed somebody to fill in at the Pacific Coast campus in the student affairs area. So I feel very lucky that I applied for that position and got it.
Now, for those who might not be familiar, where is the Pacific Coast campus?
It's at 1305 East Pacific Coast Highway, right at the corner of Orange and Pacific Coast Highway, a little bit closer to downtown Long Beach, just south of the liberal arts campus.
And what is the difference between the Pacific Coast campus and the liberal arts campus? They have a difference in what they try to do and who they're trying to teach?
Well, the curriculum, I think, is probably the biggest difference. It's traditionally, it used to be called the BTC campus, which stood for Business Technology. We now are known as the PCC campus for Pacific Coast Highway, but we down there offer the vocational education classes. The students that want to get a certificate in carpentry or diesel or welding or sheet metal or horticulture or photography, more of the vocational education courses are offered down there. We also have a very strong population of ESL, which is English as a Second Language classes, as well as the traditional courses offered at this campus.
Now, with that in mind, are the activities that you would have to direct down there significantly different than the activities they would have up here?
In some ways, only because, for instance, in the Voc Ed arena, those students start their classes at 7:30 in the morning and finish at 1 or 2. So they're in what we call block class. They just don't have the time to participate in, say, a mini Grand Prix or a club activity, where traditionally the courses offered at the liberal arts campus are more, you know, you have an 8, 9, and 10, and then maybe you have some free time to get involved in the club. My biggest hurdle is getting the students involved and helping spread the news about that out-of-classroom experience they can have away from tests and exams. And it's very difficult sometimes, but the club program's growing. We're up to 22 clubs, so it's growing.
And is that the major emphasis of what you do? Is do you direct the clubs?
A lot of that, and the student government. We have a representative on our campus that sits on the ASB cabinet, which attends meetings at both campuses and represents the voice of the students at PCC. We hold elections and count ballots. We just finished not too long ago, our homecoming elections, and we're able to have the homecoming candidates come down and get some exposure to PCC. It's a nice opportunity for the students at the college to experience both campuses.
How much of that goes on? Are they sort of separate? And
it's in some way. I mean, they're 5.5 miles away, so even with that short distance, you're going to have differences.
Sure.
Plus, the students, like I said, you can't come to the liberal arts campus and take an aviation class. But you can come down to PCC and take that, or a horticulture class, or there's just lots of different types of curriculum offered. But one of my continued goals in student affairs is to encourage the students at the liberal arts campus to come down and volunteer to work the campaign, booth and help with elections, and to come down and experience that other part of Long Beach City College, because again, we are one college just with 2 different campuses.
Well, if I were studying something here at the liberal arts campus, but I wanted to take an aviation course,
you could.
I could.
The problem with that might be, though, that if you're going after an aviation certificate, the courses involve 9-week sessions and a lot of time, and it'd be very difficult to do both. Most of the students either get involved in the Voc Ed, program and stay with that till they obtain a certificate, and then lots of times if they after that want to get an Associate of Arts degree or an Associate of Science, they then will start that course of action.
Okay. Now, what about you? How did you get to do this? What drew you to become an activities director? I mean, I can take a guess, because you seem like a vibrant people person.
Well, I am definitely a people person. I would not do well behind a computer all day. I learned that very early. Like I say, being a product of this program, I know what it did for me. I'm often asked about, I enjoy getting up and speaking in front of a large group. I enjoy putting on special activities. And therefore, it's an opportunity for me to give back to an institution, Long Beach City, so much of what they gave to me as a student. I was very active in student government here. And so it's nice for me now to be the advisor and to be able to channel students and hopefully groom students, again, out of the classroom and more so toward just time management and activities and the benefits that come. Student Affairs is very proud that we're like a classroom without walls. And we teach some of the things that they just don't learn in the classroom through belonging to a club, running for a student government, getting involved in extracurricular activities, and all of the work that goes into planning, say, a mini Grand Prix or a homecoming or a spring sing. I'm a real believer in those are things that you can take with you the rest of your life, and they've worked well for me because I've been able to come back and be an advisor. So it's been lots of fun.
Tell us what's a typical day in the life of Jeri Carter?
Well, today was real interesting. But, my day starts between 7 and 7:30, and I'm also not just in charge of the program, but I'm in charge of a facility. The Student Center has a large lounge area where students come to study and to hold small group meetings, or classes sometimes will we'll use that area for social functions, and we're in charge of facilitating that and booking it and keeping all that straight. On the other side of my office, we have a big game room, which has a big banner in it that I'm very proud of that says, "Welcome to the happiest place on campus," because it holds the ping pong and the vending machines and the video games. And so students come in there for recreation. And I'm a firm believer, especially now with college students, they need a chance to vent and recreate. I have my bachelor's in recreation and worked many years for Long Beach Parks and Recreation, so this kind of was a natural place for me to be here at the college. I enjoy teaching people how to have fun.
So you're kind of like a camp counselor for college
Yeah,
students?
yeah, I
sort of
guess,
like?
yeah.
You have a whistle? Do you walk around?
I whistle when I
People,
referee
let's
volleyball
go.
games. We have volleyball games on the lawn, and I have pumpkin carving contests, and just lots of opportunities for students to have some fun, away from the pressure of finals and midterms and paperwork.
Are you a Girl Scout den mother too, Jeri?
No,
You
no,
feel like you'd like to just get in with people.
Well,
Here's what we're going to do. We're going to have fun.
I do teach PE. I'm teaching PE at PCC in the evenings. I'm teaching a dance aerobics class, and I mentioned the cheerleaders. I'm still associated with the cheerleading program here at City. And
Were you a cheerleader when you went here?
yes, I was.
Are they the Pepsters? Is
Yes.
that the cheerleaders?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Pepsters is a word that means cheer, dance, and mascot, and stunt. I needed a word.
Stunt?
Stunt are the
Oh, I thought
guys
you
that
said
throw.
stud.
I know everybody thinks that, no, stunt men.
Okay.
When you throw the girls and catch them. So
Oh,
I
okay.
coined the word 10 years ago, Pepsters, which means all of them,
Mhm.
that entire group. And they're doing quite well. I'm very proud of them.
How large a group is the Pepsters?
Well, last year we topped out at 30, but this year we're probably right at 18.
Is that a good size, 18?
Yeah, it's a little more manageable. 30's a lot. But we had a lot of young men on the squad last year. Lots of stunts, and they did very, very well. I was very proud of them.
So you went to school here,
Mm-hmm.
and you've been teaching here for how long?
I've been here for 10 years.
For 10 years. How is the spirit on campus now? I mean, you probably have your pulse on the students more than anything. We hear stories about, the students, they're apathetic, they're this or that. How are the college students of today?
Well, comparing it to my years, it is different. Pep rallies, highlights of my years at City, of course, were Friday afternoons, and we had pep rallies out now, which is now the Rose Garden. That's where we always had our pep rallies and the band and everything. It has changed, but more students are working. I feel the average age student in our college has drastically changed. It's not everybody coming straight out of high school anymore. You have a lot of women re-entering the college field, a lot of men looking for new careers, and men and women looking for all kinds of different objectives. It's just the geography and the environment in Long Beach has changed so much that I think our typical Long Beach City student has changed along with that.
Does that make your job harder or easier?
Well, getting people involved in a club program, I feel it makes it harder. Everybody wants to say they don't have time, and a lot of us don't have time. But what's worked well at PCC is we have a horticulture club, and it's full of horticulture students. We have an aviation club, and it's full of aviation maintenance students. So what we've been able to do is grow from those individual departments and provide a social atmosphere. And they fundraise and have scholarship money and do lots of very worthwhile projects.
Are there special organizations for adult students?
Oh, yes, we have the largest senior circle club at PCC in the state of California.
Senior Circle
Senior
Club?
Circle Club. You must be a senior citizen to be involved, and they take classes at PCC, and they're very involved in the club. That's a very social group. They're wonderful. Any chance I have to go speak with them, I do. They're outstanding.
How large a group is that?
Oh, well, the club itself at the college is probably close to 80 or 90 plus in numbers. There's 90-year-old people in it.
Oh, that's not an age limit. That's
No, there's no age limit. After you're considered a senior citizen, 62, 63, then you qualify for the class. And Mary Thwaites, their advisor, does an outstanding job in recruiting and making those years special. And it's special to have them at Long Beach.
What do you think is the most unusual club here on campus? Do you think there's one? Unique? That you might...
Unusual?
Yeah.
Oh, let's see, I have to think.
Well?
I don't know. I know the club programs are growing, and they're called the co-ed social interest clubs, and we get them from all over. Gosh, right off the top of my head, I can't come up with one.
Well, that's okay.
A lot of them are really related to departments. So, you get a new department, they form a club, and they form a club to fundraise, and they're able to do a lot with the fundraising.
Do you enjoy your work, Jeri?
I love my work. I feel very, very fortunate. I know a lot of people can't say that, and I've been very lucky. I love my job. I love this college, and I plan to be here a very, very long time. And I have some children coming up through the ranks soon, so hopefully I'll be here when they're here. And I really do enjoy it. I feel very lucky.
When your children get to come here, what would you like to see different about Long Beach City College for them?
Wow. Well, they're going to have me holding her hand through the whole thing.
That's good. They're going to have they're going to know that's my mom. Yes,
there's my mom. Oh, yeah, no, I don't worry about it. I don't know. I guess, I know it's tough to get classes. I continually hear from my students that I come in contact with that the class was full and they couldn't get in. And I also know we're in the process of making some great new positive registration changes. And so I guess, you know, I work very closely with registration at PCC, so I would hope that the registration atmosphere for them would be one that would be easier. And when it comes time for them to get ready to leave the college, this is a concern of mine, that some students just sometimes can't get out because they couldn't get their class, and they do fill up quick. And I know it's tough, but
a lot of people go here.
Yes.
Do you know how many?
I want to say 27,000, 28,000.
Yeah.
And I believe between 5,000 and 8,000 are at PCC. So.
In the way of activities, what would you like to see done under your supervision? Is there a certain event you'd like to put on? If you had the money, unlimited budget, what would you like to do?
Well, we already do homecoming and mini Grand Prix. I would love to see. Last year we had 6 mini Grand Prix car participants from PCC, and we have a little mini race on our campus on a Wednesday, and then we come down here to the liberal arts campus and they compete against each other. That is probably one of the single most successful things that we do together as a college.
The mini Grand Prix?
I've
worked on it for the last 4 years.
Well, then you know,
Sure.
PCC is doing more and more involvement in those kinds of activities. So I would like to continue to see more PCC involvement in homecoming, spring sing, mini Grand Prix. I would like more students to see. I'd like to see more PCC students at football games and athletic events because it's free with your AC card. A lot of what I do at the PCC campus is promote that card, promote the benefits that go along with the AC card, because it's communication down there. I don't speak all the languages. I can tell a great story with these hands, but
Sure.
It becomes a real challenge. So I'd like to see more involvement.
Well, I wish you good luck. I want to tell everyone there at the PCC campus, my mother always told me, these are the best years of your lives. Get involved. Have fun. Go see Jeri. She's a fun person just to hang out with for a couple of minutes, even if you don't get involved. So, Jeri, good luck, and thanks for being here today. I want to thank Jim Poston for being my guest also. My name is Dan Reddington, and I'll see you next time on City. Thanks for joining us. Dan Reddington, and welcome to City, the show that will introduce you to the many interesting and fascinating people who make Long Beach City College one of the finest community colleges in the country. When we return, we're going to meet two very special guests, so please stay with us. We'll be right back.
This is David. This is what David's done. David went to college. Annapolis. David taught himself to play piano, the sax, even the bagpipes. Well, maybe not the bagpipes. David was NBA Rookie of the Year. He's also been to the Olympics twice. David even became a naval officer. David's sure done a lot. But you know one thing David's never done?
Drugs.
David doesn't do drugs. Maybe that's why he's done so much.
Welcome back to City. Joining me is my first guest. He's the coordinator of the game program here at Long Beach City College, Jim Martios. Jim, thanks for coming down today.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
Before we get into the specifics of the game program, I understand you've been here at Long Beach City College for 17 years and have done actually several interesting things before the game program. Tell us a little bit about those.
Yeah, I started the college in 1975 as an ESL instructor. And
ESL is?
English is a second language.
Okay.
And that was right when the fall of Vietnam and the refugees started to come to Long Beach. So we had, started with about 200 in the ESL program. And we found there was a group of refugees that we couldn't deal with in the program. They had no language ability. So I wrote a federal grant, and we were funded in 1979 for refugee support services, ESL classes, English classes for the refugees. And since '79, that's what I was doing until the GAIN program came along. I was the refugee coordinator, and we probably served over 5,000 refugees in the Long Beach area with English lessons and job placement services and vocational training.
Was that all through Long Beach City College?
Yeah, all Long Beach City College, and that's how I naturally progressed into the GAIN program, because all those refugees were on welfare, and that was a part of the grant that was, you had to move them across from welfare to jobs.
I see.
Actual employment. So when the GAIN program started, I started attending the GAIN meetings, which GAIN is Greater Avenues for Independence.
Greater Avenues for Independence. Okay.
Yes.
And how long has this been going on?
It started in the college in 1989. It started in California in '87. It's what they call welfare reform. It was 30 years in coming in California, and it took a long time, 30 years. Before, when a person was on AFDC welfare, which is Aid to Families with Dependent Children, you didn't have to do anything. You could just sit home and collect your welfare. GAIN made it mandatory that you participate in some type of a program that would lead to you getting off of welfare. It was the first program of its type, and it provides basic remediation services to get your levels up to, so you can participate in a vocational training program, and then 2 years of a vocational training program, and then job placement services. So everyone in time who is on AFDC welfare in California will be in GAIN. It's just that it costs so much for child care and support services now that everyone isn't in it. But
so this just isn't a program for college students. This is actually an entire welfare revamping.
Welfare reform, yeah, entire system, and it's patterned on, well, JOBS is a federal welfare reform program, and it's patterned on GAIN. When Reagan was in California, he designed GAIN, and then when he went to the federal government, he had JOBS patterned on GAIN. So JOBS now is the overall, and GAIN is our California program.
And how does GAIN specifically work here on the campus?
We have three components of the campus. We have the remediation component, where GAIN students are sent to the college to get their levels of math and reading skills up to a level that they can participate in the vocational training. So we have around 300 students in that a year. The second is the vocational training program, where students come to the college in any of the fields we have here, you know, anything, they can be in any field, and they have up to 2 years to finish that training, and then they're supposedly employable. And then the third component we have, if they don't get employed within 6 months of their training completion, they go to what we call workfare. It's called long-term preparation. And they work for a year in a public, nonprofit position to learn skills that on-the-job skills, so they're more readily employable when they finish. So we have that component also at the college. We have about 20 what they call prep students here at the college also that are working for their grants.
Okay, and how they come here to the college under this GAIN program? It provides their tuition, it provides them
GAIN
housing?
provides everything. They get their grant while they're attending class. They have child care, books and supplies, transportation, any cost outside of their daily living costs are provided by GAIN. So it's a very inclusive program. I mean, it's a wonderful program for these people to get out of the home and get doing something. They have to get doing something.
Right, to get to where you're earning your own living.
We're talking about the perpetuation of the welfare generation, and year after family stay on welfare. Well, this gives them the oomph to get off.
And you've been doing it since 1989.
Yeah.
Here at the college. How many people have you put through this GAIN program since then?
Well, the first year was very slow because it took a long time to get going. I think we probably had around 300 people. But the last 2 years, we've had a little under 1,000 a year. And this year, I think we're probably going to break 2,000.
Wow.
It's the GAIN budget in California. You're familiar with the budget, Wilson and the budget. You know,
well, with IOUs,
cut, right? The GAIN program was the only program that saw an increase in their budget.
Because why?
Because Wilson feels that if he's going to cut the welfare rates, he has to do something to help the welfare recipients get off welfare. So GAIN is the answer to that.
And does that make sense to you?
It makes a heck of a lot of sense. I think it's wonderful. LA County's budget for GAIN went from $39 million to $61 million this year. So they're going to double the amount of intakes. That's why we're going to see a lot more students this year in our classes. So yeah, it's a very expensive program, but it's well worth it.
Tell me about the requirements to get into the program.
Well, the main requirement is on AFDC welfare. That's aid to families with dependent children. So if you have one child, now if the child's 3 years older, you're going to be a mandatory referral. It means you have to be in the program. If your child's under 3, you can be a voluntary person. And
so once your child reaches 3, this is no longer something that you can just say, oh, I think I'll join that GAIN program. You have to.
Have to.
Okay.
The law requires that you have to do something that shows that you're going to get off of welfare. And this is the first time this has really happened in the United States. I mean, the federal program JOBS is, you know, a real change. And you know, Clinton's talking about more change. He wants, right now we have 2 years for remediation and 2 years for vocational training. What Clinton's talking about is a 2-year package for everything.
Do you think that's good?
Yes and no. I think it's good because it sets a limit and people know that and they're going to get off. Where we have people perpetuating, you know, taking their time. But I think in our area, in Los Angeles County, the students we have, a lot of them don't have a 3rd grade education. And to get them up to a level that they can participate in a training program,
it's going to take longer than 2 years.
It takes longer than 2 years. It takes longer than a year to get them there, and then you only have a year left for the training program. And it's not going to be a wage that's going to get them off of welfare.
This is a mandatory program. What has been your experience with people when they get on the program? Are they happy about being on the program? Are they resisting it, but then happy they did? What's the overall feeling among people?
I would say, it's interesting, we have 92% of our clients are ladies. Okay, so just to let you know. But I count the ladies. I would say a good 90% of them are happy and really excited about being in the program. They're happy to get out of the home. They're happy to be doing something. But there's 10% that are just kind of, well, you know, they're not used to it. They're not used to doing anything.
Right.
And they're the ones that are real hardcore. And
well, if there's only 10%, though, boy, 90% of the people being happy,
when we're talking about the welfare population in LA County, I mean,
that's great.
That's great.
Now, I understand you have brought some photos of some of the people who are in the program. Are these people currently in or who have gone through and are now?
These are people that are in our vocational training program now. They've gone for our remediation. This lady is Gail Smith. She is in food service now, works in the cafeteria here at LAC. Really a hard-working lady. It's a wonder that, you know, that she's got so far. And it's just great. And Tonya and Wanda are both in medical assisting now. They went also through our remediation program, got their GEDs, and now they're successfully participating in medical assistant. I mean, if you don't go through remediation, they can't get this training. It's just
right. You wouldn't be able to be a medical assistant if you couldn't read beyond the 3rd grade level.
Because all the other programs we used to have, you'd go right into vocational training. There was no remediation allowed, and that's still for a lot of programs it's true. But this gives remediation, and they can really succeed. It's a wonderful program.
Tell us about Gloria Franco.
Gloria, yeah, in travel. She was a ESL student, and then went into Learning Center and got her reading skills up to participate in a vocational training. There's a certain cutoff level you have to get to. And now she's in travel and just doing wonderfully. It's just great. Yeah, and Celio, he's in data entry. He works in the Human Performance Center at PCC. We got him a job there, and he's just doing wonderful. He's another non-English speaker, non-native English speaker that's doing very well in the program.
And everybody seems to be smiling, so they're...
Yeah, well, when we took the picture. And Judy, in word processing, yeah, she came ready for vocational training, so she didn't have to be remediated, so she's doing very well.
All right.
Moving along. They're all moving
Who
along.
else do we have? All right.
Tonya Stola, she's our real star. She was in the Learning Center, got her GED, has done some outstanding little poems and stories that we put in our GAIN newsletter and things. And now she's a registered dietitian. She's in that course training to be a dietitian. So doing very well.
Now, I noticed as your students are up here, it's almost like you're the proud papa. I mean, you seem to be really happy. What do you get out of being involved in this program?
Well, I love the program. You know, with the refugee population, I saw people on welfare sitting on their porches for 10 years, and it just bothered me to no end. I just love this game program. It forces them out, and they're really happy to be out. I just, it's about time we had something that really made sense.
And you're happy to be helping them too.
I love the program. Every day is a different thing. It's just wonderful.
What can someone who's interested in getting on this game program do? How can they get a hold of you?
Give me a call, 599-8023, and we can help them with anything. Primarily, what the requirements are, you have to be on AFTC welfare, and you can get in.
All right.
No problem at all.
It's Jim Martios, and any advice you can give to people who might be hesitating about coming and giving you that phone call?
Well, I think, the child care and the books and supplies and transportation, it's just a godsend to get you out of the home and get going. I mean, it's your one chance. Everything is taken care of. There's no cost to you whatsoever to go into this program.
Great. Well, thank you. Jim Martios offering people what seems to be the chance of a lifetime to get out, learn a skill, get an education, and raise yourself up out of welfare level. So thank you very much, Jim. Good luck. Continue good luck with the program. When we come back, we're going to meet a Navy SEAL who teaches speech here at Long Beach City College. Stay with us.
She calls out to the man on the street. Sir, can you help me?
There is help for thousands of people with disabilities who are homeless. If you work with an organization that helps the homeless, you should know about SSI. SSI means monthly cash payments, food stamps, and medical benefits. SSI means help for the homeless. To find out more about SSI, contact Social Security.
Dan Reddington's Wardrobe, provided by Umberto, International Clothiers, located at 2141 Bellflower Boulevard in Long Beach.
Welcome back to the city. Joining me now from the Speech and Communications Department is Jim Ostach. Jim, welcome to the city.
My pleasure to be here. Thank you.
You've been with Long Beach City College since 1976.
That's correct.
Tell me about what you've done in your 17 years here.
When I first started here at City in 76, I came in as a special funds hourly contract teacher in the work experience program. Primary responsibility for teaching some classes and doing job site development. Myself and the other people that were in the program were able to get state and federal money, so we expanded that program to a pretty good size, and I eventually became a full-time teacher in it. When my predecessor left, I assumed his position and took over the district coordinator, running the whole program for the entire district. And in our glory days, we had almost 8,000 students enrolled in the work experience program.
Wow.
As the state and federal money receded, then City College's budget took over more and more of the program, but it was always to decentralize and push it into the departments. And that's what we successfully did. And then I eventually made the transition over to the Speech Communications Department, where I've been teaching since about 1983, 1984.
And how did you make that transition? What did you have to do to go from what you were doing to be in the Speech Communications Department?
It was a gradual transition because, again, we were on state and federal money. And when you're granted state and federal money, it is assumed that over a period of generally 3 to 5 years, the district will take on more and more of the funding for it. So two dynamics were operating. One, the state and federal funding for my position was drying up. And two, myself and the other people that worked in the program were becoming very successful in terms of doing what we were chartered to do, and that is to decentralize out of our office and move the programs into their individual departments. And once they come into the individual department, we really have no longer any responsibility for them.
Okay, so now you're in Speech and Communications.
That's correct.
And what is that?
The Speech and Communications Department is part of the Creative Arts Division, and I teach the courses in interpersonal communication, in group dynamics, in public speaking, and in leadership. We also have offerings in forensics and oral interpretation, argumentation and debate. We have special classes in nonverbal and listening and intercultural communication.
Who should take a speech class?
If you'll allow me to reflect my bias, I think everyone would.
Why? Why should everyone take a speech class?
It's consistently shown that when you survey business and industry leaders, when you ask them what skills are most critical for an entry-level position into your type of business, they will almost always respond with a degree of technical skills. And of course, you're expected to have mastered a certain body of knowledge. But in all surveys, oral and written communication skills rank exceedingly high. Often they're the first or the second. So we operate from the viewpoint that some of our people will become teachers, some of our students will become speech pathologists, others will go into social science, but many of them, the great majority, will make their way into business and industry. So by serving business and industry and finding out that what they're looking for are people that are skilled in oral and written communication, consensus decision making, group problem solving, those kinds of things. That's what we tend to incorporate into our classes, so that when they go out and they look for a job in business and industry, when a potential employer reviews their transcripts, they say, oh, I see courses in leadership, I see courses in group dynamics, I see courses in public address, and it puts them in a very good position for being hired.
Since you feel that everyone should take a speech course, are there required speech courses here at Long Beach City College?
Speech communication is one area from which a student can choose their classes to meet their basic requirements, whether they're going for a trade and technical certificate or whether they're following a general education transfer pattern to the CSU, the Cal State University, or the UC system. So when they look at a curriculum guide, they see that all of the offerings in the speech communications department are open to them, either for their major or for electives.
So they don't have to take any specific course, but a student does have to take some speech communications courses.
And they've got about 6 or 7 courses to choose from. I mean, speech anxiety is a well-shared fear. So many people will spend their entire college career avoiding a public speaking class.
Oh, sure.
Some people rush right into it because they like that.
Well, I've read about the study where they've listed the second biggest fear is the first one is of snakes and the second one is of public speaking.
That's
people
correct.
are really afraid of it. How do you get people not to be afraid of public speaking when they come to your class?
Teaching techniques to overcome speech anxiety is integral to a public speaking course. And so what most of us do is we begin by taking all of the grading pressure off. So the first 1 or 2 assignments in your basic public speaking class will probably not be graded. It will just be a credit, no credit. You will eventually move in, of course, to graded assignments with some rather detailed outlines required for the courses.
But that's not the fear, is it? The fear isn't that you'll get a C on this speech. The fear is that you're going to be embarrassed in front of all these people you give it to, right?
That's correct.
Right.
That is absolutely correct. You have hit on it. The fear is we never know how the audience is judging or evaluating us. And when you start to see people get nervous, when they go to the hairline, when they go to the shirt collar, when they have disfluencies, when they lose their place, when they shoot their note cards all over the floor.
Sure.
They're nervous because they're wondering, how do these people see me? How do they feel about me? Am I coming across as intelligent or as a dimwit? Am I perceived as being organized and articulate or the opposite? And that fear, that not knowing how I'm being evaluated, is what really bothers people when they get up there.
Well, and what
so we
I've
take the grading pressure off, we take the grading pressure off for the first 1 or 2 assignments, and then we also make it quite clear that the speech class is a very safe laboratory in which to learn techniques and skills. It's a wonderful place to make mistakes, and to get them over this crazy notion that you have to be perfect and fantastic every time you stand up before an audience, which is not true. All you really have to do is be good.
Now, let's say someone took a couple of courses in the speech communication department. They really enjoyed it. They decided, I'm going to become a speech major. What would they then go on to in a career as a speech major?
I would suggest when they start to develop an interest in speech communications, they first go to 2 places. They go to the departmental advisor and ask him or her, give me some insight into what it's like to be a speech comm major and what I can do with it when I get out of here. And also go to the Career Planning Center and look up the speech communication degree and see what kinds of related fields of study and what kinds of occupations are open.
Off the top of your head, could you name us a few that
occupations
that it might lead to very well?
Sure. teaching. Some people go into teaching. Some people will go into editing and publishing and writing. Many people go into human resource development, public relations. We have a great number, and I'm very encouraged to see this, a great number of business majors who have an area of emphasis in accounting, finance, real estate, marketing, transportation, but they're minoring in speech communications. Or, corollary, we have a lot of speech communication majors who will take business minor. So they're going into insurance, banking, retail sales, which is one of my backgrounds.
Well, I've noticed nothing helps a business person more than being able to present a proposal or talk to his or her superiors or other people with just a confidence and a feeling that this, I know what I'm doing, here we go. You always hear people say, well, what a sharp guy, what a sharp woman. And it all comes from the way they speak. A friend of mine's running for Boston City Council, and he just called me. He won his first debate, and he put it right back. He said, I didn't know how I would do in a debate, but he had speech classes. He just went back to his speech classes in high school and just played them out. So I guess it can enter out into any area.
It's a very accurate observation that you've made. Much of our success in any organization, whether it's industrial, whether it's military, whether it's technical or industrial, much of our success in that depends on how we are perceived. Are we perceived as gregarious, as intelligent, as easy to get along with, as reliable? And people listen to your speech, they watch your nonverbal behavior. People are constantly judging and evaluating you. And if you seek to be a success, you need to learn how to manage your image, but I don't mean that in a manipulative or a pejorative sense.
Sure.
Manage your image so that you come across as a reliable, intelligent, creative person.
Now, you have had success in other areas besides here at the college. Tell us about the Navy SEALs and your involvement with them.
I first went into the Navy in 1967 when I left City College here as a student. I got my associate in arts degree, but like many men who were 19 years old, school was the last place in the world I wanted to be. I wanted danger and romance and excitement and all those kinds of things.
Well, 1967 was a time for danger.
The Vietnam War, yes. So I was excited about it, but my family was very displeased. But I decided to leave school for a while and continue my education just in another format. So I went into the Navy and got involved in the underwater demolition teams and made a tour over in Vietnam with them. And then when I came back, I was selected by my commanding officer to go to a further training program because it was just only in 1962 President Kennedy authorized legislation that funded the founding of SEAL. SEAL, incidentally, is an acronym, S-E-A-L. It stands for Sea, Air, and Land, which means that we are qualified to work in all three of those environments.
That's an elite group, right?
Yes, it's very, very small. The actual number is classified, but when you look at the total number of people that are in the Navy and in the military, it's far less than 1%.
Are you still involved with the Navy SEALs?
Yes, I am. I got out of active duty in 1972, went back to school to pursue my bachelor's and master's degrees, and worked in retailing with JCPenney for several years, taught at the high school level, but was always gravitating toward the community college level. In 1982, I decided to really reaffiliate with the Navy, and then I got into the reserve. So I do my drills once a month, and then each year I do about 3 or 4 months, 3 or 4 weeks of active duty with them, which really takes me all over the world. It's very exciting work, and it's very gratifying, and it's dangerous and it's fun.
Well, we don't have a lot of time left, Jim, but could you tell me your most harrowing experience as a Navy SEAL? Have you had any harrowing experiences?
More than I care to catalog.
Give us one.
I suppose my single most harrowing experience during my second tour to Vietnam, we were making a landing in a helicopter, and the rotor and the hydraulic system was completely shot out, and that helicopter flipped over and it trapped most of us inside, and the helicopter started to catch on fire. We had to use our own weapons to shoot out the door, and we got that out, and several of us who were wounded. We were being attacked at the time. Fortunately, we had a helicopter in the air covering us, but what I had to do, I had to make the decision for myself and one other guy to stay on the ground while we got the wounded men on the helicopter, and it flew away. So we had a couple of automatic weapons and a radio between us, and it was our job to go hide and stay alive for about 6 hours until we could get air cover to come in and pick us up.
Oh, my.
So if I had to identify one, that probably qualifies as the single most harrowing.
All right, now see, and you people out there are worried about public speaking. It's nothing compared to what Jim Ostach's been through. And if you want to learn maybe some more about some of his adventures, go join him in the classroom, and it'll be a good experience for you. Jim, I want to thank you very much for coming.
It has been my pleasure. Thank you for asking me.
You're welcome. And I want to thank all of you for joining us today. My name is Dan Reddington, and I'll see you next time on City. Thanks. Hi, I'm Dan Reddington, and welcome to City, the show that will introduce you to the many interesting and fascinating people who make Long Beach City College one of the finest community colleges in the country. When we return, we're going to meet two very special guests, so please stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Bogey, penetrate, second floor. Green, 26 miles, heading 340. This guy can fly. Okay, bang. We got him on the Roz. He's trying to target us. Jam him. He's fast, he knows. Okay, he fired. So did we. He's pulling a 7G turn out of here.
Space technology of the 21st century. It's here, now, in the Air Force. Aim high. Air Force.
Hi, welcome back to City. Joining me now is my first guest, the head of the Department of Foreign Languages here at Long Beach City College, Herta Keilbach. Hi, Herta.
How do you do?
Thanks for coming down today. Herta Keilbach, what kind of name is that?
German.
You're from Germany?
I'm from Austria.
Austria. What part?
From Graz.
Where is that?
It's a second largest city in Austria. It's a university town, and it's in the south. It's kind of the off-beaten track, so...
It's not a big tourist spot?
Not yet.
Not yet. Now, you say that like you're worried it might be.
Could
It's
be.
going to become that way?
Yes, especially now with the East European countries accessible and...
Are a lot of Eastern Europeans now coming into Austria to vacation?
Oh, yes, Hungarians and Czechs and Poles and...
Wow.
That goes back to the Austrian-Hungarian Empire because that all was at one time
It was all
for
one
something
big
like
thing, and then it broke
500
up,
years,
and now it's
yes.
going to get back together. Now, you're department head here, foreign languages.
Right.
How did you go from being born in Austria to now being here at Long Beach City College?
Well, when I was a young girl, my mother decided to immigrate with us to the United States. And I did my university studies here and got interested in, I always was interested in languages and cultures. So I studied German and got my advanced degrees, master's and PhD at the University of Southern California, and had been teaching at Marymount College before. And in Austria, I had gone to Catholic girls' schools, so I kind of continued with a Catholic education at first.
Now, you speak how many languages?
Well, I'm, of course, bilingual with German and English. I speak some French and Spanish and a little bit Hungarian.
In Europe, it seems you automatically know two languages very well because you learn your language and then you learn English. But that really hasn't been the trend here in America. Is it still the trend, or are people now realizing the importance of a second language?
Well, in Europe, it's if you, for instance, went to the academic high school, which is called the gymnasium, you had no choice. I mean, you had to study at least 2 foreign languages besides your native language.
Wow, so you were trilingual just when you got
exactly,
out.
and it was like no matter what you studied, I mean, they always said like languages were very important. And also, the countries are small, and like take Germany, they have 9 neighbors who all speak different languages. And
right,
Austria
it's like
has
here if you speak Californian, Arizonan,
exactly.
And yeah, sure. Do you find that the students who come into the college program here at Long Beach City College, how fluent are they in a second language when they first arrive?
Americans seem to be a rather monolingual society, but I think it's changing, and hopefully will even change to a great degree. And I think we have really come to a point in time where if we really want to remain competitive in international business and in international relations and everything, I think it's very important that we do value the studies of foreign languages and foreign cultures in a global world like today.
How can, on an everyday basis, just in a person's normal life, how can learning a second language well help them out? If they're not going to be a diplomat or anything, but just they want to know a language, is it a good idea?
I think it is, because to understand other people's culture, you can only do it well by just having at least some knowledge of the people's language. And it's really so important, and I think students start realizing it now, is no matter what they engage in later on, is it the sciences or the international business or politics, and even if the business is national, there is a point in time where the need of being a little bit international makes a lot of sense.
It's good. It's a good idea. Now, tell me about the language department here at Long Beach City College.
Well, we, I think, have a very good language department, and we are teaching. We have full programs in French, German, Spanish, and have the first year also in Chinese and Japanese. And here at Long Beach City, we have a transfer program with we are articulated with the UC schools, and so it's very important for our transfer students to take the languages they will be needing for their fields. And it seems like with German and French, there are a number of majors now, like in the arts and in the sciences, and where the schools not only require a particular foreign language, but they require like German or French or both.
That particular language?
Oh, yes, and we
what
have
are some
that
of them?
now.
Do you know which one would be? It's like, what would you need German for? Maybe the sciences, I guess.
The sciences, the arts, music. When you think of the Beethoven and Bach and Mozart and all those people, I mean, believe
and I
it
think
or
of
not,
them often, actually.
yes,
I do, yeah.
Believe it or not, those people were, you know, German-speaking.
Sure.
I mean, Mozart from Austria, but that's still a German-speaking country. And philosophy, and there are a number of majors where I get students now who, I always ask students, why are you taking German? And so when they start telling me because of their major, and
it's not a German major.
No, not at all. Not at all. Completely unrelated. Some of them are in history. Some of them are in political science. Some of them are international business. I mean, the EC in Europe. I mean, Germany is the biggest contributor
and becoming
partner.
more and more powerful, actually.
And with unification, the numbers of Germans now, and also the business, is really there.
Now, I understand, actually, though, that the learning here at Long Beach City College isn't just confined to the classroom. You actually have a summer abroad program?
Yeah, we have a study abroad program where we have students study in the various foreign countries, and this is a slide from our German program, which we conduct in Austria, in Salzburg, and this is the area around Salzburg. And what the study abroad program...
The hills are alive. It's beautiful.
Yes.
Is that the Alps?
Yes, that's the Alps.
Hey, know your mountains.
Uh-huh.
So I'm sorry I interrupted you. Go ahead. These are the students there from Long Beach City College?
Yes, from Long Beach City College. And so they are taking courses there, their German courses, and they can also take a music course or art course, just like they would be doing here for their transfer units, but at the same time they're totally immersed in the culture and in the language because they all are living with German-speaking families. And so the language instruction doesn't really stop at the end of the class. They are in the environment and they are with the families who speak German.
Do you go with them?
Yes. And then they're working very hard, but then we are having a lot of fun and we are doing a lot of side excursions. And Salzburg is very centrally located. It's at the border of Germany. You are within an hour in Munich, in the capital of Bavaria.
Wow.
And then you have all the other, Vienna, the capital of Austria, we go to with them, and that's about a 4-hour bus ride where they really get to see the Habsburg culture, what they left after 500 years of rule. And one of the highlights is the Salzburg Music Festival, which is a classical music festival where the opera stars from all over the world actually come there to sing in the Salzburg festivals, which are operas and concerts and things like that.
What a treat. Now, do the students, it's for the whole summer, 6 weeks, 4 weeks?
It's 5 weeks. And and all this is part of the program. And they get 2 tickets to the festivals, to concerts, and they have been fortunate to sit in one concert. I'll never forget it, when one of our students ended up sitting next to Pavarotti because he sings in the opera, but he goes and also becomes part of the audience, and she just couldn't believe it. She thought at first maybe she had a nightmare or something, but she said it was real.
Is that the best way to learn a foreign language, to take yourself out of your environment and just right in flowing with the whole thing?
Yes, it just, there is nothing which could beat that, because the immersion and to live in the culture and also at the place where the language is spoken on a daily basis.
Is there a way to duplicate that without taking a foreign trip? Can you duplicate that in the classroom?
You can't really quite duplicate it, but we have been really focusing on communicative teaching for proficiency. And so when students enter our language program, that goes for French and Spanish too, when they enter our language program and start taking their first language class, we always teach them everything in context. We want them to be able to use the language from day one.
So you start more on a conversational level rather than grammar and...
we still teach them grammar, but we do it very painless. We do it in context. And for instance, like teaching past tense, you don't need to really be very structured in a sense of just teaching grammar. You can show them the forms and then start talking about what did you do over the weekend, and in the conversation they will be at the same time practicing the past tense of the verse, and that works very well. And of course with Spanish it's much easier because we have Mexico so close, and then the California population, there are a lot of Spanish speakers, so they have more opportunities to practice on a daily basis their language than students have with German and French.
What is the most popular second language here on campus?
Oh, it's definitely Spanish. Spanish is...
And people in terms of Spanish majors and...
I don't know Spanish major. It's just Spanish is really, I mean, here in California, spoken everywhere, and
well,
and
and
a
that
lot of
points
our...
out one of the more reasons why it's very important to learn a second
Exactly,
language. Here
exactly.
in Los Angeles and Long Beach area, we should know a second language just to get along with our fellow human beings. So Herta, Keilbach, I want to thank you for joining us here today, and I want everyone to think about really learning a second language, and we have a great department right here, and you'll just get to meet Herta, Keilbach. It's just fun enough to go on down there and try it out. When we come back, we're going to have another very special guest, so please stay with us.
This is David. Oh, hi. This is what David's done. David went to college. Annapolis. David taught himself to play piano, the sax, even the bagpipes. Well, maybe not the bagpipes. David was NBA Rookie of the Year. He's also been to the Olympics twice. David even became a naval officer. David's sure done a lot. But you know one thing David's never done? Drugs. David doesn't do drugs. Maybe that's why he's done so much.
Dan Reddington's wardrobe provided by Humberto International Clothiers, located at 2141 Bellflower Boulevard in Long Beach.
Hi, welcome back to City. I want everyone to be on their best behavior because but he's the fun dean. He's the dean of student affairs here at Long Beach City College, John Flypaa. John, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks, Dan. I appreciate it.
People have kind of a fear of the dean, almost like it's the high school principal. Should they be afraid of you, John?
Well, I don't think so. You know, I've always viewed my job as one of really kind of like a student ombudsman. I see myself here on behalf of students, an advocate, really. And that's really the fun part of my job. I get a chance to deal with so many different aspects of the campus. We're dealing with not only some of the discipline things that might happen, which is a minor part of it, but really the positive atmosphere. I see my area and a lot of others who work with me a chance to kind of set the fun tone of the campus and present that collegiate environment.
Well, tell us about some of the fun things. What exactly does student affairs encompass?
Oh, boy. I mean, it's really very wide-reaching. I mean, it has everything to do from the athletics program to our student leadership development program, our campus clubs. We have over 60 different campus organizations from A to Z. I mean, you name it, we have it at Long Beach City College. Our intramurals program, which gives students an opportunity to have a little fun on the outside, get a little athletic skill. The would-be Michael Jordans, you know, get a chance to come out and
there's space now.
Shoot a little hoop. That's true. But in addition, we deal with the Women's Center a little bit in the area of student affairs and primarily leadership development. That's kind of a very major aspect of what we do.
Leadership development through what?
Well, it takes many different formats. We have a formal system, really, which takes place through our student leadership and student government programs, where we have both elected and appointed officers. And one of the things that I'm really proud about, the way Long Beach City College handles our student development, is that we really believe in shared governance, and my hat has to go off to our new superintendent president, Barbara Adams. She believes deeply in this and involves our students in every aspect of the campus decision-making, from small committees to large committees. Students sit on the board of trustees.
Wow.
In our elected position.
Is that unusual on a college campus?
Well, no, statewide, that was made available to students in 1978. When it was
Where have I been?
It was actually formalized where students could serve in a voting or non-voting capacity, and it's been a wonderful experience.
I'll bet, sure.
But in addition to the Board of Trustees role, our own student government is very, very active. They manage a budget of over $500,000. They make determinations of hiring and firing sometimes individuals in our bookstore, vending, cafeteria operations. So they're learning behind the scenes. That's one aspect. Our rest of our student development comes through our club system. As I mentioned before, that we have over 50, 60 different campus clubs, and there's a lot that can be learned in that capacity as well, from just how to become a better leader, to dealing with conflict resolution, to having some fun activities as well. I mean, students need a social life. I mean, we can go to campus and go to class in and out, but there's more to a collegiate experience than just the classroom.
How regulated is the club program? Is it really under sanctioned by the college, or is it they're all doing their own thing and we're going to keep an eye on them, or how does that
Well, our philosophy is that anything exists. We certainly, if you're going to have one club, you should have all clubs. And we ask that there be a faculty sponsor or a staff sponsor of some sort, that they put a constitution on file, that they have a minimum of 15 members, and then they get to become part of what we call our club senate. And the club senate is that, again, part of that development process, and they do things like approve fundraisers, kind of keep a little control so there aren't too many activities happen at the same time, so everybody wins, so they're not conflicting with each other. And that's also where they share information about what their clubs are up to, get an opportunity to get involved in some of the planned activities that the campus has for them, like homecoming, or in the spring semester our mini Grand Prix, or the spring sing activities.
Has there ever been a club, you say there's about 70 clubs on campus now? Has there ever been a club, people said, we want to have this kind of club, and you had to say, nope?
Nope. Well, no, I think you might have seen maybe in the 60s or 70s individuals trying to do that from a student leadership perspective, but not today. I mean, what the laws tell us is that if you have one club, you allow all to exist. And I personally don't think that in an educational setting, and we're here to prejudge or judge what should or shouldn't be. I think that's the beauty of college life. It's a chance to experience a little bit, a chance to try some things, and to have a little varied opinion on campus as well. That's where our student government will sponsor forums. That's where we'll have guest speakers come in and learn a little bit about maybe what the other side has to say, and students then develop their own philosophies.
Now, the fun things about your job, tell me some of them.
Well, you know, it does keep me young, I'll tell you that. Not bad.
You look great, I gotta tell you.
80 years old and still holding. I wish. No. It is a great job. I consider my job really the best one on campus for an administrator, and I say that sincerely because I'm in contact daily with students. My colleagues sometimes say they envy me because they can get stuck in meetings with other adults, seeing the same colleagues all the time. I'm out dealing with students on a daily basis, and I truly see that as a part of my job. I'll sometimes just go out and stand in the vending area, stand in the cafeteria, talk to students, try and find out what their feelings are, what's bugging them, you know, what they'd like to see changed, and I can then share those feelings with some of the other administrators on campus, or if it's a student problem that students can deal with, turn it over to them and try and get a little dialogue going.
What would you say to someone who would say, we don't need a mini Grand Prix, that's a waste of money, that's not what college is about, we should be spending that money on more courses or more teachers? How would you answer that?
I can understand that thinking, particularly in these tough economic times. I think one thing that people need to understand is that those type of activities are extracurricular in nature. They're not funded by district dollars, they're funded by students themselves through monies that they contribute through the Associated Student Body Card program. But in direct response to that, I'd say that it's a learning experience.
It's all part of...
People often just see the finished product. They see a bunch of individuals running around with silly push carts or up on stage singing some silly songs. What they don't see is the learning experience that takes place prior to that. And that's where we formalize this leadership training. It's an outstanding experience for people. I consider us a classroom without walls, so to speak, because you have people learning how to conduct meetings, you have students learning how to put together agendas, you have them learning how to buy and sell things if they're going to have to purchase things for a particular event. They have to develop some money management skills because they've got the bottom line dollar to deal with. And so while on the end result you see something that looks like fun, you don't really understand what went on to get there. And our students are working on major projects all the time, and I can tell you lots of success stories of how these particular skills have helped people.
Can you give us one?
Well, I'd be very happy to. I think back to a particular individual who was very shy coming into our program, and his name was Brett Parker, and he was the first student body president I ended up working with.
Wait, he went from being a person who really couldn't interact with people and then became student body president?
That's correct. Wow. And through this, he took his job seriously, maybe a little too seriously. Got to have a little fun with it too. But he started his own business a little later, and that didn't quite go the way he wanted, and then started getting in law enforcement. And he's become a very successful law enforcement individual. And I bumped into him a while back and asked him how he was moving along, and he gave credit back to the institution about these behind-the-scenes activities that I'm talking about in developing some of these skills.
Right. So they look like you said, people see, oh, okay, the Mini Grand Prix, big deal, that lasted a couple hours. Not to put it down because it's a lot of fun. I've worked on it with Steve and everything. It's really a blast. But it's how long before, from the time you decide we're going to have the Mini Grand Prix on this day, how much preparation goes into this?
Well, that particular event, it's at least 2 months worth of time.
Wow.
And it involves our Associated Men's Students program and our Associated Women's Students program. Those are our men's and women's social service clubs. They do the planning and the skill building behind it.
Are there any special programs coming up that we've not yet seen that you're working on for the future here at college?
Well, we leave that a little bit up to each student government, because not only do they do the traditional activities, we always encourage them to do a little free thinking on their own and come up with some of their own projects. I know that in the fall semester they did a couple forums. In the spring semester they're looking forward to working with the Pacific Coast campus on a couple activities.
How involved are the two campuses? Is that unusual that they get involved on some?
Oh, no, not at all. Matter of fact, we see that as an important link. We view ourselves as one campus, one college, even though we have two campuses. And we have a staff member who's assigned full-time to the Pacific Coast campus to promote activities and run those types of events on that campus.
Now, I remember when I was in college, no matter what the school offered in the way of extracurricular activities, there's always somebody walking around going, there's nothing to do here, it's so boring. What would you say to a person like that?
Well, I encourage them to get involved. There really is something for everybody. And one aspect that if somebody isn't quite comfortable on the leadership end that I'd like to talk about is the opportunity for service.
Okay.
And we look upon that as a very important aspect of what we do. Again, our Associated Men's Students, Associated Women's Students program make that an important cog in their wheel. And last year alone, our men's and women's organizations donated collectively over 7,000 hours of service to both the college and the community. And that's a wide range of activities. Just 2 weeks ago, they were down at the Long Beach animal shelter painting all their kennels. They do cans and bottle drives to raise money for scholarships. They do campus cleanups. You name it.
Now, these are the kind of things people might be going, wow, so they went and painted a kennel, but this is all the way, isn't it? These are fun events while they're going on. They might sound to us like, oh, they painted some kennels. They're interacting with their other students and actually growing as people, aren't they?
That's true. That happens, and I think there's just the one aspect that we can't forget is that feeling of self-worth that comes from being involved and giving back. That's probably one thing that we, as a society, probably need to focus a little more on these days. And I'm really proud to say that our students are actively involved in it.
How available are you to students who say, I have an idea for something that we should do here at the college? How would they get a hold of you?
Well, they could just stop by my office. I'm located in the college center. And like I say, I consider that an important aspect of my job, to hear what students are thinking about. And we can make things happen. We're flexible. With some of the budget cuts that have happened at the community college in recent years, we're looking for ideas like that. We're looking for resources for people to put on programs, and we welcome it. We see that as an important part of what we do.
It seems like you're never at a loss for a way to occupy your time in the day.
No, that's for sure. Or night. I'll tell you, we have a lot of fun doing it. Our athletic program has kept us real busy and involved lately with our outstanding football program. Our basketball season's kicking off. And there's plenty to do. We have such an outstanding music department and theater department, and our student body, through their student government funds, fund a lot of these programs. And so we obviously get involved to see how the money's being spent. Our student government leaders are there taking advantage of it.
Well, you seem to be the perfect temperament for that kind of job, too, to deal with the students. And I promise you, students, he's a dean, but he's a very approachable man. John Flypaa, thank you very much for being here. I want to thank Herta Keilbach for being with us today, and I want you to please join me again on City. Thanks a lot. Dan Reddington, and welcome to City, the show which will introduce you to the many interesting and fascinating people who make Long Beach City College one of the finest community colleges in the country. We have two very special guests today, so please stay tuned. We'll be right back.
This is David. Oh, this is what David's done. David went to college. Sorry, Annapolis. David taught himself to play piano, the sax, even the bagpipes. Well, maybe not the bagpipes. David was NBA Rookie of the Year. He's also been to the Olympics twice. David even became a naval officer. David's sure done a lot. But you know one thing David's never done? Drugs. David doesn't do drugs. Maybe that's why he's done so much.
Welcome back to City. My first guest is a professor of political science here at Long Beach City College. He has a PhD from USC, and he's a world traveler. His name is Jeri Brown. Jeri, welcome. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
I think the first question has to be on everyone's mind, are you that Jeri Brown?
I get asked that a lot.
I'm sure you do. I'm sure you do. Well, political science, you are not that Jeri Brown.
No, but people return my phone calls.
Well, that's
nice.
good. On an 800 number? Political science is exactly what? What would one study when you study political science?
Well, we study government and how government works, and basically our students are studying American government in particular.
So just the workings of the Congress, the checks and balances, all that, or do you get into the political process itself, getting elected, all that?
Well, you have to cover everything. If you're just covering the basic process, that's what you would cover maybe in high school, and we try to get into the more hands-on so they can understand the world around them, how politics relates to them in everyday life, and they can see it happen on TV.
How did you get involved with something like this? Did you always have an interest in politics?
I think gradually I developed an interest in politics when I was in college, and then I eventually decided this is what I wanted to do, is teach political science, and I've been doing it.
What other careers might someone be able to get involved in if they studied political science as a major, besides teaching it? Are there other areas that one could go into?
Well, there are a whole bunch of areas in terms of public policy. People can go in terms of the hands-on type of thing. The teaching is a different aspect. A lot of people take political science for pre-law training. So, also, it's a general background, so it really prepares you for a wide range of things.
Should you be a political science major? To take a political science course? It's a required course here, isn't it?
Well, we really like to see people from all over and all majors taking this class because, again, everything you do becomes politics, even whether you're in the hospital or whether you happen to be working in government. There are a lot of politics involved, and so it's a good preparation for any lifestyle.
Now, you say you're dealing primarily with American government, but do you touch upon the world situation? I mean, today, there's governments are toppling and changing practically every week when you read the paper. Is that something that you also get into?
Well, I do in my world politics class, and we cover a lot of the current situations, and people are always saying it must be a wonderful time to be teaching world politics or American government, and it always is. But I try not to have it driven by the headlines because then it becomes a current events class.
You travel quite a bit, I understand. This also must help you sort of get an understanding of governments around the world and help you bring that back to the classroom.
Yeah, I think I mentioned to you earlier, I'm a travel maniac, I guess.
Travel maniac?
A travel maniac.
Oh, okay.
And I've traveled around the world 3 times, and then I've gone traveling to Europe a number of times, and it does give you a very good perspective on a lot of different things.
What's your favorite place in the world?
That's a really difficult one to answer. I mean, and I get asked that a lot.
You have no favorite place? Can you tell us a couple?
Well, I think probably, the most exotic place would be India, as far as, pure exotic. Africa, traveling in Africa, in terms of the game and that type of environment, the people, is very, very special. Then from a civilization point of view, and you're traveling in Europe, you can't beat that. So it depends on what you're looking for on any given trip.
In terms of interest to you, as a person interested in politics, have you ever gone to a place that you've just been drawn there by its political history or by things that are happening at the time? And what was that like?
No, I normally don't actually pick a spot to visit because of the politics. I will, actually, when I'm there, I will end up discussing politics. I guess I bring my interests with me. And so one time I was trekking in Nepal, and a woman who ran a guest house was talking to me about politics, and then in the Communist Party and a vote that was coming up, and it was fascinating hearing her insights from her particular perspective.
Now, when I travel, I mean, I'll go somewhere for a week, 10 days, and basically I'm interested in just sightseeing. Oh, look, the Eiffel Tower, how nice. Are you able to gather this kind of information in a short trip, or do you go for long periods of time when you travel?
Well, it depends. We're lucky having summertime. We can take maybe 5-6 weeks that we can spend traveling. But if you take a sabbatical leave, you can go longer, and I've traveled for up to a year. One time 5 months in Asia, 7 months in Europe. And that gives you an opportunity to stay in Paris, study French, talk to the people, and really draw much more out of it than if you're just there for a couple of days.
Do you find it more interesting to travel alone? Do you usually go with a group of people, a couple people, or?
Well, my wife has requirements that I travel, that she comes with me. And that makes it a lot more fun.
Right.
You can talk with somebody afterward and reminisce.
You ever gone on a, if it's Tuesday, this must be Belgium type trip, where you go with a whole group of people and it's sort of a planned tour?
Yeah, I've taken groups actually to different places. I've taken groups to China and to Africa and to Europe.
Through the college?
I've done some through the college, and I've done some independently. That's interesting, but it's a much different type of trip. You're right. It's more of a, if it's Tuesday, it must be Belgium type of thing. So you have people falling asleep on the bus and the whole thing. Yeah.
Do certain parts of the world lend themselves more to that than others?
I think Europe definitely lends itself much more to that type of a trip. And you go into other parts of the world that are less settled, then the canned trip becomes a little bit less canned and a lot more difficult. Also, though, in the United States, trips like Washington, D.C., taking students to Washington, D.C. are perfect for a really good learning package and also for the trip itself.
When you come back to the classroom from these trips, it must be helpful to you to sort of share your knowledge with the students. Do you have that kind of time in the classroom? I mean, how large is a typical political science class here at Long Beach City College?
Oh, you'll have 40 students in the class, and so, I mean, the number of students doesn't cut into your sharing something that's relevant to what you're teaching. It cuts into maybe the time that you could directly interrelate with a particular student. But that happens after class, or like during office hours. People will come by, and if you've been to a country, we have a very diverse campus, and so if you've been to the country where somebody is from, it helps break the ice down a lot faster, and makes it a lot more interesting.
Now, 40 students, that's actually, in my mind, that's a small class, a lecture hall, as compared to like a big university where there'd be like 350 students. So there is a chance for a little bit more intimacy there, I would guess, than in a large lecture hall.
Oh yeah, compared to the university where you'll have maybe 300 to 500 people in a lecture, an introductory lecture, then the students never get to meet the instructor or talk to them, ask questions. Our students are really lucky. You know, they can talk to the instructor, they can have that personal contact, and get questions answered, and a lot of them are taking advantage of it. It's a good thing.
What would you like to see here at Long Beach City College in the department or at the college that's not here that you think would be an improvement?
Well, you know, we're on this cutting edge of the electronic highway and all this that everybody's talking about, and that's an area that we need to work on. We need to develop more access where we could have an electronic mail drops for students and faculty so that they can communicate outside the classroom in a more 21st century model.
But the school is heading in that direction.
They're doing work in that right now, and so I'm optimistic that that'll be in place.
What is your favorite thing about Long Beach City College?
Oh, the students. Yeah, I mean the students. I mean that's what makes it happen. I mean it's what goes on in the classroom and the people that come and talk to you in the office hours. That's the fun part.
You've been a teacher here since 1967.
Yeah.
What's changed about Long Beach, about the school?
Well, a lot has changed about Long
Well,
Beach.
tell us a little bit what it was like back then.
Well,
1967, man, that was the time.
You're talking about the Vietnam War. You're talking about a lot more social unrest, perhaps. So you cycle through these things. I mean, we go from that into relative tranquility of the 70s into the greedy 80s.
The greedy 80s?
Now, where are we now? The 90s? Or the year 2000? Where are we going?
We're rebounding here. Do you enjoy teaching?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's great.
And what would you say is most gratifying about it for you?
Well, I think as the students began to understand the relevance of what you're trying to talk about in terms of how government impacts in their life, when they make those connections between who's in office and their quality of life and what they can do about it, that they have some control. And as you see them taking control and solving problems and getting success, that's great.
All right. Well, Jeri, thank you very much for visiting with us today here on City. When we come back, we're going to meet Marsha Lewis and learn about the art of metalsmithing. Please stay tuned. Thank you, Jeri.
She calls out to the man on the street. Sir, can you help me?
There is help for thousands of people with disabilities who are homeless. If you work with an organization that helps the homeless, you should know about SSI. SSI means monthly cash payments, food stamps, and medical benefits. SSI means help for the homeless. To find out more about SSI, contact Social Security.
Welcome back to City. Joining me now is Professor of Art here at Long Beach City College, Marsha Lewis. Marsha, welcome.
Thank you.
I want to congratulate you. You're one of the first artists I've ever met who actually is an artist for a living. Congratulations.
Well, thank you very much. But I really tell the thing I do for a living is teach, and maybe one day marketing will come into it. But I think most of us who teach and make art are our own biggest collectors.
Oh, really? It's your own stuff?
It's about
all around your
a whole
house.
closet full.
But you're a teacher of art. It's
I am,
your
and
field
I
is
exhibit
your
the
living.
work. I
Right.
exhibit the work, but that doesn't mean that I make a living at it.
Well,
Couldn't do both. Can't serve two masters.
well, I take that back. No congratulations are in order at all. How did you get started? What's your background that got you going?
I started as a sculpture major at San Diego State, and I took jewelry and metalsmithing as an elective. And I just got hooked.
You weren't a child growing up going, I want to be an artist when I grow up. No.
Well, yeah, absolutely, but what kind of an artist? What media?
okay.
What context do you place it in? And sculpture always appealed to me over drawing and painting. You can get your hands around it. You can visualize it. But the jewelry, the idea of being able to wear your own product really appealed to me. I wasn't particularly good at it right away, but having gone from sculpture, which is mostly working subtractively, at least I had been, to jewelry, metalsmithing, where you're working additively, step 1, step 2, step 3, it did not come very easily.
Must be nice, as you say, you get to wear what you made. You're actually your own museum, walking around.
Yes, it's exciting to think, I get to wear that to the symphony next Saturday. Yeah, it's nice.
Now you went from, you took a few electives, then you became an art major?
No, I wasn't. I was an art education major at San Diego State, and a jewelry emphasis, and then did all my practice teaching and so on, and then decided that actually I taught high school for one 10-month period, and then decided that I should go to graduate school and teach college, because you don't get a chance to continue to make your own art if you teach K through 12. There just isn't enough energy left over. Whereas in the college, they encourage you to continue yourself as a professional artist as well as a professional educator.
And you've been at Long Beach City College since 1978?
Yep. The fall of 1978, I began the program, and it has grown and developed to 3 classes plus 1 in what we call applied design crafts. which is once a semester, and where we not only do jewelry, but we do lots of things using craft materials.
How is the equipment here at Long Beach City College?
It's getting better all the time. It's getting better all the time. It's something that we continually have to work on. So, because the more equipment you have, the more tools you have, the more students can produce with greater ease. They don't have to work under handicaps, and so they're doing better all the time too.
Now, in music and in other fields, the equipment keeps updating practically every month.
Yeah.
Is it true with sculpting and art in that way?
Not so much. Actually, it's rather romantic that we're using a lot of the tools and techniques that were used hundreds of years ago. Some things like lost wax casting don't change, where you carve a figure in wax, invest it, burn it out, and then cast it into liquid gold or silver. That technology really hasn't changed in thousands of years, but we have the ability, because we have some more sophisticated equipment, to be able to do it more practically. And a student can leave a 2-year program here and know enough to either go out on their own, go on to more technical school training, or to go on to upper division and graduate work, which is what I try and kick them into.
You'd like to see them go on to...
Only because I think they need more development intellectually, most of them, before trying to go out and design a line of their own and become hardened merchants.
Well, why do you think they need more intellectual maturity?
Most of them, by the time they get to me here, have had little or no art background, and I can only do so much remedial design work. They need to be able to take art history. We have one of the finest art history teachers I've ever seen here at City College.
Who is that?
Carol Romer. Everybody knows her. She's just a fabulous art history teacher. That influences their work. It gives them a period of time to place themselves in the history of art, gives them foundation. And just because what we make is a product that then gets sold in order to make a living, doesn't mean that it doesn't need a foundation in art. It's art.
Do you find that students are a little anxious, restless, say, I'm a creative person, I don't need the other education, I just want to I want to say my art, I want to express myself. Is it hard to convince them to stick with the other courses?
How did you know that? Yeah, yes, you're absolutely right. Yeah, yeah, and they have really, from here, no concept of what their competition is either out there. So, you know, I want them to mature in the art, even if they're not immature in years. There's a certain maturity they need in the art background generally before they go out and immediately start paying their rent by what they learn in my class.
Is the goal of the program here to allow someone to become a working artist, or can also non-art majors take your courses and get something out of them?
A lot of students who take my class are not art majors, and hence I need to do so much of the remedial design work because there's nothing there. But they find that they have an aptitude for it, they really enjoy it, and that's all that's required. The skills will come with practice. But I then have an opportunity to coach them to take the art history, to take the 2- and 3-dimensional design, to take drawing.
And that's all available here?
It's all available here. All of it, plus some computer information too, because if they do elect, for instance, to go out on their own, they're going to need to be computer literate. They're going to know how to design as well as to just manage their business.
I have friends in advertising who went in as artists, and now they are lost if they can't do it on a computer. It's all done right there at their desk.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, I did promise everyone that we were going to learn about metalsmithing, and I understand you have some slides to show us here. Let's take a look at just what metalsmithing is, and you can describe them for us, please.
This is a beginning jewelry student, no art background, and one of their first projects, and I change this every semester. I try, just because I don't want to get bored, I want to be fresh. I give them a different intention. This one was called a wearable bumper sticker. Now, it doesn't look like a bumper sticker, but the idea was that they have something to say, and you'll notice that this is a globe and an hourglass, and the sands of time are running out for the globe, right? Right. And it's so beautifully done out of sterling silver, and there's a bit of carved aluminum, brass, and even a little piece of acrylic that makes up the hourglass.
And this was made by a student?
By a student.
Right here on the campus. They didn't have to go to a special shop to get some things done.
No.
They're able to do all this.
No, it's all here.
Ooh.
And second semester, first semester, second project, Marriage of Metals, where we combine at least 2 or more colors of metal in this container form made out of silver, and that's sterling silver, copper, and brass. The reason I say sterling silver is we also have something called nickel silver, and the two of them together are very beautiful, but the nickel by itself looks very white and silver-like.
This is beautiful. Ooh.
This
What is this?
Second semester hollowware, beginning hollowware, and these are salt and pepper shakers that are sterling silver, and they fit together. This was done out of a model first, out of note card paper, and then the thing was assembled in sterling, and it has a wonderful file finish. Beautiful job.
Yes.
This student's now at Cal State Long Beach doing upper division work. Another beginning project, a student with very little art background, and again, a lot of hidden meaning behind the symbols.
That's a course, actually.
Yeah, exactly, symbology, right. But beautifully put together.
Now, how much of this is their idea alone, or do you help coach them along, or do they just come to you?
It depends. It depends. So many of the students have no art background whatsoever. I try and send them, in this case, to primitive art. I say, if you're going to steal, try and steal from somebody that's dead.
That's easier in all walks of life, I think.
Yeah, right. And look at primitive societies and how they ornament themselves, and I send them to look at architecture, to look at the things that influence us, because in primitive societies, they're not looking at other jewelry, they're looking at the things that are surrounding them, natural forms.
Right.
And this was a bracelet done out of sterling silver with some semi-precious stones by a beginning hollowware student. Hollowware just means that you're working the way a person who's making a teapot or a coffee pot would. You're working over stakes with hammers, and you're hollow forming something. In this case, the bracelet was her first attempt at doing this, and her name is Susan Steele, and she placed in a national competition last spring, where she was competing with upper division and graduate students from all over the country, and out of, oh my goodness, I think 165 schools, 165 pieces from 44 schools, 27 were picked, and she was one of them.
Wow.
And
well, congratulations.
It's going to tour the country, and oh yeah, well, I just thought it was unbelievable. I encourage them to send, but I also tell them, don't be too ecstatic if you get in, and don't be too
Well, it's just to have done it. What a good...
Exactly. You know for sure you're not going to get in if you don't send.
I want us to make sure we get a chance to look at these that you brought. These are examples of metal smithing, correct?
Correct.
Jewelry.
Right.
What do we have here?
Well, again, this is a second piece first semester, which is the Marriage of Metals. I think you can maybe see on the camera combinations of nickel, silver, brass, and copper, and it's a rattle.
It's broken.
Now, I do believe that Bob Daly in this case, had art history, and I believe it was tribal art, so you can sort of see the transitional carryover from art history to actual useful designs. And then this one is a beginning hollowware project, which is made out of just a sheet of copper, a flat sheet of copper raised into a bowl form, filled with something they call pitch, and then hammered with punches, a technique, ancient technique, called chasing. I happen to be doing a book on that.
Oh.
May I put a plug in there for
Sure,
me?
go right ahead. What's the book called, and when will it be out?
As a matter of fact, it's called Chasing, Ancient Technique with Modern Applications.
Well, unfortunately, Marsha, they're chasing us out of here. We've run out
How
of
are
time.
they?
We could talk about this maybe 3 more shows worth, but keep up the good work. And,
well, I appreciate it.
And I encourage people who want to learn about art and get into it to just come down and take one of these classes, and maybe you could make Christmas gifts or whatever. Thank you, Marsha Lewis. And I also want to thank Jeri Brown, our first guest, professor of political science here at Long Beach City College. Thanks a lot. We'll see you next time.